What if the person who changes your life does not come to teach you something, but to destroy what you believe you already know? Imagine spending your entire life mastering knowledge, becoming respected, admired, followed, only to meet a stranger who asks a single question, and suddenly everything you thought you understood collapses. This is the story of a meeting that transformed one of the greatest minds in history. The day Rumi met a wandering mystic named Shams of Tabriz, and how one question turned a scholar into a poet of eternity. Before that encounter, Rumi was already famous. In the city of Konya, he was a respected scholar. Students surrounded him, books filled his days. People traveled from far away to hear him speak. He had everything that the human ego secretly desires: recognition, authority, certainty. But there is a quiet danger hidden inside knowledge. When we know too much, we stop searching. And when we stop searching, we stop transforming. Psychologically, the mind loves stability. It builds identities. I am the expert. I understand the truth. I know the path. But sometimes, growth begins the moment that identity cracks. And that crack often arrives through a question. One day, a stranger arrived in Konya. He did not look like a scholar. He carried no books. He claimed no title. Yet there was something unsettling about him, a calm intensity, a presence that seemed to ignore social hierarchy. This man was Shams of Tabriz, a wandering mystic. When Shams approached Rumi, the students expected admiration. Instead, Shams asked a question. Tell me, who is greater, the Prophet Muhammad or Bayezid Bistami? The question shocked the audience. Rumi answered calmly, the Prophet, of course. But Shams leaned forward and asked again, if that is so, why did Bayezid proclaim, "Glory be to me," while the Prophet said, "We did not know you as you deserve to be known"? The question was not theological, it was existential. Shams was pointing to the difference between spiritual intoxication and spiritual humility. Bayezid experienced a moment of union and exclaimed his greatness. But the Prophet, standing before infinite truth, felt only infinite humility. In that moment, Rumi realized something terrifying. All his knowledge was still standing outside the door of experience. For the first time in his life, the scholar met someone who did not admire his knowledge, but challenged its limits. Transformation rarely happens in isolation. It disrupts systems. Rumi began spending long hours with Shams, talking, questioning, exploring the depths of spiritual experience. His students were confused. The respected teacher who once lectured confidently was now listening like a beginner. Institutions are built on stability, hierarchy, roles, certainty. And when a leader begins to transform, the system often resists. This story reflects a pattern seen across civilizations. Great transformations rarely begin with new answers. They begin with disruptive questions. Socrates did it in Athens. Prophets did it in their societies. Revolutionary thinkers did it in science. The moment a civilization begins to stagnate, someone arrives and asks a question that destabilizes everything. Shams was that question for Rumi. But the story does not end in harmony. Shams suddenly disappeared. Some say he was murdered. Others say he left. What matters is this: the man who had ignited Rumi's transformation was gone. At first, Rumi was devastated. But then something extraordinary happened. The absence of Shams became a presence inside him, and from that fire of longing, poetry began to flow. Thousands of verses that would become the Masnavi, one of the most powerful works of spiritual literature ever written. The lesson of this story goes far beyond mysticism. It speaks directly to leadership. Many leaders believe their role is to provide answers. But the most transformative leaders create questions. Questions that challenge identity. Questions that reveal hidden assumptions. Questions that force individuals and organizations to evolve. The true mentor is not the one who gives knowledge. It is the one who awakens the search. Which brings us to a quiet question. Somewhere in your life, there may already be a Shams. Not necessarily a person, maybe a crisis, a failure, a conversation, a moment that disturbed your certainty. And the real question is not whether that moment exists. The real question is this: did you reject it, or did you allow it to transform you? Because sometimes, the encounter that feels most uncomfortable is the one that opens the door to who you are meant to become. And perhaps the most dangerous belief we carry in life is the belief that we already understand everything we need to know.